Welcome back, everyone. Today, we are diving into a story that challenges how we usually think about history and the modern world around us. When most of us picture history, we imagine dramatic moments, great leaders making bold speeches, massive events changing everything overnight, or powerful inventions instantly transforming society. It is easy to believe that the world we live in today was shaped only by big actions and famous names. But what if that is not the full picture? What if some of the most important changes in human history did not begin with grand plans or heroic decisions at all? What if they started with something much smaller, an ordinary choice, a brief hesitation, or a decision that seemed completely unimportant at the time? In reality, history is filled with moments like these. Small decisions made quietly and without much attention have often had consequences far beyond what anyone could have imagined. A simple choice between two options, a delayed response, or a minor adjustment in direction has sometimes changed industries, altered cultures, and reshaped the path of entire societies. What makes these moments so fascinating is that the people involved rarely knew they were standing at a turning point. To them, it was just another day, another routine decision. Yet over time, those tiny choices slowly rippled outward, influencing events far into the future and helping shape the modern world we recognize today. In this story, we are not focusing on famous battles or well-known leaders. Instead, we are looking at the overlooked moments, the quiet decisions that slipped through history books but left lasting marks on our lives. By exploring these moments, we begin to see history not as a straight line of progress, but as a fragile web of choices, chance, and timing. So let us step back, look closer, and discover how small decisions quietly shape the modern world. At first glance, small decisions rarely feel important. They are often made quickly, without deep thought, and usually seem limited to the moment. Choosing one route instead of another, approving a minor change, delaying an action by a few days, these choices appear harmless and easily reversible. Yet history repeatedly shows that such decisions can grow far beyond their original context. What makes these choices powerful is not their size, but their timing and position within a larger chain of events. A small decision made at the right moment can redirect systems, influence future options, and quietly set new paths into motion. Over time, the effects compound, spreading across years, generations, and even continents. By the time the consequences become visible, the original decision is often forgotten. Many long-term outcomes were never intended. People acted based on limited information, short-term needs, or convenience, without any awareness of what would follow. A minor adjustment in policy might later affect entire economies. A simple design choice could define how billions of people interact with technology. A delayed response or overlooked detail might shift power, reshape borders, or alter cultural norms. These outcomes remind us that history is not built only on dramatic turning points. It is also shaped by quiet moments that lacked urgency at the time. Small decisions often work in the background, unnoticed, slowly influencing what becomes possible and what does not. They create momentum that is difficult to reverse once it begins. Understanding this changes how we view the modern world. What we see today is not just the result of careful planning or bold ambition, but also of countless minor choices layered on top of one another. The world was not shaped all at once, it was shaped gradually, through decisions that seemed too small to matter, until their impact became impossible to ignore. Some of the most transformative moments in history did not begin with urgency or drama. They began during normal days, shaped by routine decisions made by ordinary people simply doing their jobs, solving small problems, or responding to immediate needs. These choices were practical, not visionary, and were never intended to influence the future on a large scale. Everyday decisions are powerful precisely because they feel safe and familiar. When a choice seems routine, it rarely invites deep reflection or caution. People rely on habits, convenience, or existing systems, assuming the outcome will be limited and predictable. Yet when these decisions occur within critical systems, communication, transportation, trade, or governance, their impact can quietly extend far beyond the original situation. Over time, these ordinary choices accumulate. A repeated shortcut becomes a standard process. A temporary solution turns into a permanent structure. What began as a quick fix or simple preference slowly shapes how systems function and how societies adapt around them. Because the change is gradual, it often goes unnoticed until it becomes deeply embedded. What makes these moments especially significant is that they rarely attract attention when they happen. No announcements are made. No records highlight their importance. Only later, when patterns emerge and long-term effects become visible, does their influence become clear. By then, reversing the outcome is often impossible, as entire systems have grown around the original decision. This perspective challenges the idea that history is driven only by intention and foresight. Instead, it reveals a world shaped by normal behavior, repeated choices, and human convenience. The modern world is not just the product of bold ideas and deliberate plans, but also of countless everyday decisions that slowly guided progress in one direction instead of another. Seen this way, history feels closer and more human. It reminds us that world-changing moments do not always announce themselves. Sometimes they begin quietly, disguised as nothing more than another ordinary choice in an ordinary day. History is filled not only with actions taken, but with chances that slipped away. Missed opportunities and small mistakes are often dismissed as personal setbacks or minor errors, yet their wider impact can be enormous. In many cases, what did not happen shaped the future just as strongly as what did. A delayed decision, a misunderstood message, or a failure to act at the right moment can quietly change the direction of events. These moments rarely appear dramatic. They unfold in silence, without immediate consequences, making them easy to overlook. But once the moment passes, the path forward can shift in ways that are difficult to undo. Minor mistakes often create openings for new outcomes. A small error in judgment may allow an alternative idea to rise. A miscalculation can weaken one path and strengthen another. Over time, these shifts influence larger systems, affecting trade, technology, leadership, and cultural development. The original mistake fades from memory while its consequences continue to grow. Missed opportunities are especially powerful because they represent roads never taken. When one option is ignored or dismissed, another fills the space. That replacement path then shapes future choices, limiting what becomes possible later on. In this way, a single moment of hesitation can narrow or expand the future without anyone realizing it. These moments remind us that history is not always guided by careful planning or perfect execution. It is shaped by human limitations, distraction, uncertainty, and incomplete knowledge. People make decisions with the information they have, often unaware of what they are closing off in the process. By recognizing the role of missed chances and small errors, we gain a deeper understanding of how fragile historical outcomes can be. The modern world did not emerge from flawless decisions, but from a series of imperfect moments, where even the smallest misstep helped redirect the course of history. Not all turning points in history came from long meetings or carefully planned negotiations. Some began with brief conversations or unexpected encounters that lasted only moments. These interactions seemed casual at the time, yet they quietly influenced decisions that later affected millions of people. Chance encounters are powerful because they connect ideas, people, and opportunities that might never have met otherwise. A short exchange can introduce a new perspective, spark curiosity, or shift someone's thinking just enough to alter a decision. Often, the importance of these moments is not recognized until much later, when their influence becomes clear through a chain of events. What makes these interactions unique is their unpredictability. They happen outside formal plans and established structures. A conversation held by coincidence, or a meeting that occurred simply because two paths crossed, can redirect priorities or open doors that were previously invisible. Once that connection is made, the outcome begins to unfold in ways no one could have planned. These moments also highlight how human relationships shape history. Ideas do not spread only through documents or official channels. They travel through people, through trust, curiosity, and shared understanding. A single conversation can accelerate an idea, delay a decision, or completely change its direction. Over time, the effects of these brief encounters multiply. A suggestion made in passing can influence policy. A shared thought can inspire innovation. A chance meeting can align individuals whose combined actions shape larger systems. The original interaction fades into the background, while its impact continues to grow. By looking closely at these moments, we see history as something deeply human and interconnected. Global events are not shaped only by structures and systems, but by fleeting interactions that quietly guide decisions. Sometimes, a few exchanged words are enough to change the course of the modern world. Not every major advancement was the result of careful planning or long-term vision. Some of the most influential developments in history emerged by accident, while people were searching for something else entirely. These unexpected outcomes often began as mistakes, experiments gone slightly off course, or results no one was actively trying to achieve. Accidental discoveries matter because they challenge the idea that progress always follows a straight path. In many cases, individuals were focused on solving small, immediate problems. When an unexpected result appeared, it was easy to dismiss it as irrelevant or unimportant. Yet when someone chose to pause, observe, and explore that outcome, the impact could be far-reaching. What transformed these accidents into turning points was not the discovery itself, but the decision to pay attention to it. A moment of curiosity, rather than routine dismissal, allowed something new to take shape. Over time, these discoveries were refined, adapted, and integrated into daily life, gradually reshaping how societies functioned. The influence of accidental discoveries often extended far beyond technology. They affected communication, productivity, education, and social behavior. Systems were built around outcomes that were never originally intended, creating new standards and expectations. Once these systems were in place, they became difficult to replace or reverse. These moments also reveal the role of openness in human progress. Advancement did not come only from following strict plans, but from responding flexibly to the unexpected. The willingness to recognize value in an accident allowed small moments to become major forces of change. By understanding the role of accidental discoveries, we gain a broader view of how the modern world was shaped. Progress was not only designed, it was often discovered by chance, guided forward by attention, curiosity, and small decisions that turned the unexpected into something lasting. Political systems are often viewed as the result of major treaties, large movements, and decisive leadership. However, many lasting political outcomes were shaped by much smaller decisions made quietly, sometimes without public attention. These choices influenced how power was distributed, how rules were applied, and how nations interacted with one another over time. Small administrative decisions can set precedents that grow into permanent structures. A minor legal interpretation, a temporary rule, or a short-term compromise may seem limited in scope, but once applied repeatedly, it begins to define expectations. Over time, these decisions shape how institutions function and how authority is exercised. What began as a practical solution slowly becomes standard practice. International relationships are especially sensitive to small choices. A delayed response, a carefully chosen word, or an informal agreement can influence trust between nations. These moments affect how countries perceive one another, shaping cooperation or tension long after the original decision is forgotten. Small gestures can open channels for collaboration, while subtle missteps can create lasting distance. What makes these decisions so influential is their cumulative effect. Each choice builds upon the last, reinforcing patterns that become difficult to change. Political systems evolve not only through dramatic reforms, but through layers of minor adjustments that gradually redefine stability, responsibility, and influence. These processes often unfold quietly, away from public attention. By the time their impact becomes visible, the original decision feels distant and insignificant. Yet its influence remains embedded in laws, institutions, and diplomatic norms. Recognizing this helps explain why political change can be slow and complex. The modern political world was not shaped solely by decisive moments, but by countless small decisions that guided systems step by step. Together, these choices influenced how societies govern themselves and how nations relate to one another today. Many of the forces that shaped the modern world did so quietly. They did not announce themselves as turning points, and they were not recognized as important when they occurred. These moments passed without attention, recorded as routine actions or forgotten entirely, yet their influence continued to grow long after. What makes unnoticed moments so powerful is their subtlety. Because they seem ordinary, they rarely face resistance or scrutiny. Decisions made without attention often move forward smoothly, becoming part of daily life before anyone questions their impact. By the time their effects are visible, they are already deeply embedded in systems and habits. These moments often shaped standards, expectations, and norms. A choice made for convenience becomes a default. A temporary solution turns into a permanent feature. Over time, these small decisions define how systems operate and how people interact with them. Their quiet nature allows them to influence behavior on a large scale without drawing attention. The people involved rarely realized the significance of what they were doing. They acted within the limits of their situation, focused on immediate concerns rather than future consequences. This lack of awareness is what allowed these moments to pass unnoticed, even as they laid the groundwork for long-term change. Looking back, it becomes clear that history is filled with invisible turning points. The modern world was not shaped only by moments of recognition and celebration, but by countless unnoticed actions that slowly guided progress in one direction. Understanding this changes how we interpret history. It encourages us to look beyond major events and consider the quiet decisions that shaped everyday life. The world we recognize today exists not just because of what was celebrated, but because of what was overlooked. Progress often appears steady when viewed from a distance, but up close it is far more uncertain. The path forward has rarely been guaranteed, and many advances depended on conditions aligning in just the right way. Small changes in timing, environment, or decision-making could have easily led progress in a completely different direction. What makes human progress fragile is its dependence on context. New ideas require support, resources, and acceptance to survive. Without these elements, even promising developments can fade away. A slight delay, a lack of interest, or an unfavorable condition can slow or stop progress before it has a chance to grow. Unpredictability plays a central role in shaping outcomes. People make decisions based on limited information, reacting to immediate pressures rather than long-term possibilities. As a result, progress is often shaped by improvisation rather than certainty. What succeeds is not always what is best, but what happens to fit the moment. This uncertainty means that the modern world could have looked very different. Many systems and technologies exist today not because they were inevitable, but because they survived a series of vulnerable early moments. Each stage depended on choices that could have gone another way. Understanding this fragility challenges the idea that progress always moves forward. History shows periods of advancement, pause, and redirection, often influenced by small disruptions. Progress is not a guaranteed outcome, but a balance that can shift unexpectedly. By recognizing how unpredictable progress truly is, we gain a deeper appreciation for the present. The systems we rely on today were not destined to exist. They emerged through a delicate sequence of moments, where small decisions and chance played a decisive role in shaping the world as it is now. Planning and intention play important roles in shaping the future, but they are only part of the story. Chance and randomness often influence outcomes just as strongly, sometimes even more. Unexpected events, timing, and coincidence frequently intervene, altering carefully made plans and redirecting progress in ways no one anticipated. Randomness enters history through circumstances beyond human control. Environmental conditions, unforeseen reactions, or simple timing differences can determine whether an idea succeeds or fades away. Even the most detailed plans rely on variables that cannot be fully predicted. When those variables shift, outcomes change with them. What makes chance so influential is how it interacts with human decision-making. People respond to unexpected situations by adapting, improvising, or abandoning original plans altogether. These responses create new paths that were never part of the initial vision. Over time, these adjusted paths become the dominant direction, even though they began as reactions rather than intentions. Many long-lasting systems were shaped by moments of coincidence. Being in the right place at the right time, encountering an unexpected obstacle, or benefiting from an unplanned event can give one option an advantage over another. Once momentum builds, that advantage grows, making the outcome appear inevitable in hindsight, even though it was not. This perspective challenges the idea that history follows a logical or orderly design. Instead, it reveals a world shaped by a mix of purpose and unpredictability. Careful planning sets possibilities in motion, but chance often decides which of those possibilities survives. Recognizing the role of randomness changes how we understand success and failure. The modern world was not shaped solely by intention or intelligence, but by a constant interaction between human plans and unpredictable events. In many cases, chance did not interrupt history, it helped define it. History is often remembered through dramatic actions and decisive moments. But many turning points were shaped by hesitation, timing, and small, almost invisible acts. These moments lacked intensity or clear intention, yet they quietly influenced outcomes in powerful ways. A pause instead of immediate action, a delay of hours or days, or a small adjustment made at the right moment could redirect entire paths. Timing plays a crucial role in determining whether an idea succeeds or disappears. An action taken too early may be ignored, while the same action taken slightly later can gain momentum. In many cases, success depended not on the strength of an idea, but on when it appeared and how it aligned with surrounding conditions. A brief window of opportunity often made the difference. Hesitation is equally influential. Choosing to wait, reconsider, or observe instead of acting immediately can open space for alternative outcomes. Sometimes hesitation prevents mistakes, but other times it allows competing ideas to move forward. These moments rarely feel important while they're happening, yet their impact grows as events unfold. Small acts also carry unexpected weight. A single approval, a minor adjustment, or a quiet decision can set larger processes into motion. These actions do not draw attention, but they influence direction and momentum. Once systems begin to shift, reversing them becomes difficult, even if the original act was modest. This pattern reveals that history is not driven only by boldness or confidence. It is shaped by subtle human behavior, by patience, uncertainty, and ordinary decisions made under pressure. The modern world reflects not just moments of action, but moments of restraint and timing that quietly guided events forward. By understanding this, history becomes less about dramatic turning points and more about delicate balance. The future was often shaped not by what people did loudly, but by what they did quietly, at precisely the right moment. Looking closely at small decisions and unnoticed moments transforms our understanding of history. The past no longer feels like a sequence of inevitable events driven by powerful forces alone. Instead, it becomes a collection of fragile moments, shaped by ordinary people responding to everyday situations without knowing their long-term impact. This perspective removes the sense of certainty we often attach to historical outcomes. What happened was not guaranteed to happen. Different choices, delays, or coincidences could have produced very different results. Recognizing this uncertainty helps us see history as flexible rather than fixed, influenced by context, timing, and human limitation. Understanding these moments also changes how we view the present. The systems, technologies, and structures we rely on today are not permanent or unchangeable. They exist because of decisions layered over time, many of them small and easily overlooked. Just as past choices shape the modern world, present-day decisions are quietly shaping the future. This awareness brings a sense of responsibility. Small actions, often dismissed as insignificant, can matter more than they appear. While no single decision controls everything, each choice contributes to a wider pattern. The future is influenced not only by major plans, but by everyday behavior, consistency, and attention. Seeing history through this lens also makes it more human. It highlights uncertainty, adaptation, and imperfection rather than flawless strategy. Progress becomes a story of learning, adjusting, and responding to change rather than following a predetermined path. In the end, understanding these subtle moments deepens our connection to both the past and the present. It reminds us that history is not only something that happened long ago. It is something that continues to unfold, shaped quietly by choices made every day, often without realizing how far their influence may reach. As we reach the end of this story, one idea becomes clear. The modern world was not shaped only by dramatic moments or powerful figures, but by countless small decisions layered over time. Choices that felt ordinary, moments that went unnoticed, and actions taken without long-term intention all played a role in creating the world we recognize today. Looking back, history feels less like a fixed path and more like a fragile balance. A slight change in timing, a different reaction, or a missed moment could have led everything in another direction. This understanding does not make history weaker, it makes it more human. It reminds us that progress is built not only on certainty, but on uncertainty, adaptation, and chance. It also invites us to look at our own time differently. The present is not separate from history. The small decisions being made today, often quietly, without attention, are already shaping the future in ways we may not yet see. Just like the past, their impact will only become clear with time. Thank you for joining this journey into the hidden side of history. If you enjoyed exploring how small decisions quietly shape the modern world, do not forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts. Until next time, keep questioning, keep observing, and we will see you again in the next story.